Look at a map of Europe. In its northwest corner sits a country most people picture the same way: tulips, windmills, bicycles, and Amsterdam. We call it Holland. But here's the problem. That country doesn't exist. Holland is just two small provinces on the coast. Everything else is the Netherlands. And even the name Netherlands, the lowlands, isn't quite honest, because a third of this country isn't land at all. A century ago, it was sea. Where cities, airports, and farms stand today, fish were swimming. The people here didn't just settle this country, they built it. They drained entire lakes with windmills. They walled out the ocean with a dam 32 kilometers long. And even that's not the whole story. Officially, this small, low country stretches all the way to volcanic islands in the Caribbean, and its highest point lies on the other side of the Atlantic. So what is the Netherlands really? Today, we travel all of it and find out. Amsterdam. The capital rises on wooden piles driven into the marsh, laid out in concentric arcs of water like ripples frozen in stone. What began in the 13th century as a fishing hamlet behind a dam on the Amstel River exploded. During the golden age of the 1600s, into one of the richest cities on Earth, its wealth flowing in from a global web of trade. The canal belt from that era, now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is lined with tall, narrow merchant houses leaning shoulder to shoulder, their gables mirrored in the water below. Those houses lean forward by design, not by accident. A jutting gable let merchants hoist cargo up to their attics on a beam without smashing it against the brick, and the hoisting hooks still crown the rooftops today. The buildings are narrow for a colder reason. Property was taxed on its width along the canal, so the Dutch simply built upward and backward instead. Cross any of its 1,500 bridges at dusk, when the arches light up and reflect in perfect rings, and you understand a city built entirely around water. Kinderdijk. Just outside Rotterdam stands the single most iconic image of the Netherlands. A row of 19 windmills marching along the water, sails turning in the wind that sweeps off the flatland. Built around 1740, they were engineered to pump water out of the low-lying polders and keep the land from drowning. The land here sits below sea level, and without constant pumping it would vanish beneath the water within days. The mills lifted it stage by stage, passing it upward through a staircase of reservoirs until it could drain into the river. Millers and their families lived inside the turning towers year-round, reading the wind and setting the sails through storms and frost. This is the Dutch struggle with water distilled into one unforgettable panorama, and the world recognized it as such. Curaçao. Now the map leaps an ocean, far south into the Caribbean off the coast of Venezuela. This is Curaçao, a constituent country of the kingdom, and its capital, Willemstad, is one of the most colorful places on Earth. Soaring high above the harbor arcs the Queen Juliana Bridge, one of the tallest bridges in the Caribbean. Cars stream across it far overhead, while cargo ships slide beneath, and from its deck, the whole Rainbow City opens up below. Down at water level, the floating Queen Emma Bridge, the swinging old lady, pivots aside on pontoons to let ships pass. Behind it runs the Handelscade, a row of candy-colored Dutch merchant houses mirrored in the bay. Beyond the city wait hidden coves of turquoise water and white sand, tucked beneath cactus-covered cliffs. Bollenstreek. Each spring, a narrow strip of sandy soil between Haarlem and Leiden performs one of the greatest color shows on Earth. The tulip itself is no native. It arrived from the Ottoman Empire in the 1500s and so bewitched the Dutch that in 1637, a single rare bulb could cost more than a canal house, in the speculative frenzy remembered as tulip mania. Seen from above, the landscape becomes a living abstract painting. This is the Bollenstreek, the beating heart of the global flower bulb trade, where from late March into May, the fields ignite in saturated stripes, first crocuses and daffodils, then hyacinths perfuming the air, and finally the tulips. In April, the Great Flower Parade rolls from Noordwijk to Haarlem on floats built entirely from blossoms, a tradition now honored by UNESCO. Growers here, paradoxically, snap the flowers off in their prime, for the prize is the bulb beneath the soil, not the bloom above it. Veluwemeer Aqueduct. Near Harderwijk hides one of the cleverest sights in the country. At the Veluwemeer Aqueduct, the road dips into a short tunnel, and boats sail calmly overhead. Above the traffic sits a shallow channel of lake water, carrying full-sized yachts as if they float on air. It flips everything you expect of a bridge. Here the water crosses over the cars, not the other way around. The reason was simple. A tall bridge would have blocked the sailboats, and a drawbridge would have jammed the busy road. Small and strange, it has become a pilgrimage for anyone who loves the quiet audacity of Dutch engineering. Zaanse Schans. On the banks of the Zeeland River, a cluster of emerald green timber houses and working windmills preserves the birthplace of Dutch industry. In the 17th and 18th centuries, hundreds of mills crowded this region, sawing timber, pressing oil, and grinding pigment. The world's first industrial zone, powered entirely by wind. The invention of the wind-powered sawmill here slashed the time to cut a ship's worth of planks from months to days, and helped make the Dutch the shipbuilders of the world. It was in these workshops that pigments like the deep Haarlem blue were ground for painters, quietly supplying the palette of the Golden Age masters. A handful still turn today, their great sails groaning as craftsmen demonstrate trades that built an empire. Set against a wide polder sky, it is one of the most photographed scenes in the country. Giethoorn. There are no roads in the old heart of Giethoorn. None at all. Instead, thatch-roofed farmhouses sit on tiny private islands, linked only by arched wooden footbridges and glassy canals dug centuries ago by peat cutters. Those canals were never planned as scenery. They are the scars of the harvest, the flooded trenches left behind wherever the peat was dug away for fuel. Over the centuries, the diggers' waste heaps became the islands, and the water between them became the streets. Visitors glide through in flat-bottomed whisper boats, their electric motors so quiet that the loudest sound is birdsong and the wash of water against the bank. Often called the Venice of the Netherlands, it feels more like a village that forgot the modern world entirely. Rotterdam. Where Amsterdam looks backward, Rotterdam blasts forward. After German bombs erased its medieval center in a single afternoon in May 1940, the city chose not to rebuild the past, but to invent the future. And its skyline now bristles with architecture found nowhere else in the country. The Erasmus Bridge, nicknamed the Swan, sweeps across the river on a single soaring pylon. Rotterdam is now the only major Dutch city with a true high-rise skyline, and locals wear its rupture with the past as a point of pride. Nearby, the tilted yellow cube houses balance on their points, and the vast arched Markthal curves overhead like a horseshoe painted with a sky of fruit. The cube houses were designed to imitate a forest, each tilted home a tree, and the cluster a canopy, forcing residents to furnish rooms where the walls slope at 45 degrees. Beneath it all thrums Europe's largest port, a horizon of cranes stretching to the sea. Hoge Veluwe National Park. In the heart of Gelderland spreads one of the largest and most surprising nature reserves in the country. Heath, forest, and drifting sand that could almost be a desert. On its edge stands the fairy tale Stavern Castle. A small white manor ringed by a moat and gardens, tucked among ancient trees. It is famous for one enchanting detail: white peacocks roam its grounds. And by old tradition, the estate has kept these pale birds for centuries. Best of all, hundreds of free white bicycles wait at the park's gates. Visitors coast silently along the trails, gliding past red deer and wild boar. Few places blend storybook and wilderness so seamlessly. Zeeland. In the far southwest, Zeeland is where the country shatters into islands and open sea. Its greatest sight is the Oosterscheldekering, the vast storm surge barrier of the Delta Works, ranked among the modern wonders of engineering. A line of massive steel gates stretches for kilometers across the water, standing open to the tide and slamming shut only when a storm threatens. It was born from tragedy. In 1953, a nighttime surge burst the dikes and drowned nearly 2,000 people, and the nation swore it would never happen again. Stretching low across the water nearby runs the Haringvliet Bridge, carrying the road out over the estuary toward the sea. Its long line of arches doubling as another giant sluice against the tide. Inland shimmers the Grevelingen, the largest saltwater lake in Europe, dotted with sails. This is the Netherlands at its most elemental. Half land, half water, endlessly luminous. Makkum. On the old Zuiderzee shore, just south of the Afsluitdijk, the dam that in 1932 walled the salt sea into the freshwater IJsselmeer. Sits Makkum, a village that turned two of the water's gifts, clay and timber, into pottery and boats. In the Middle Ages, a pair of monastery-owned locks made it the gateway to the Zuiderzee. When silt later closed the harbor to large ships, the town turned to kilns and keels. And its 17th century prosperity still stands in the merchant houses clustered at the sluice and the weigh house of 1698. It is now a small museum of local history. Founded in 1572, Royal Tischelaar still hand-paints majolica and creates custom ceramics for museums and buildings worldwide. Bonaire. A short flight east lies Bonaire, a special municipality of the Netherlands, and, for divers, one of the holiest places on the planet. Its entire coastline has been a protected marine park since 1979, one of the oldest reef reserves on Earth, and dozens of dive sites can be reached simply by walking off the shore into water. The reefs are so cherished that anchoring is banned across the whole coast, boats tying instead to fixed moorings so no chain ever scars the coral. Teeming with turtles and hundreds of fish species, earning it the title of the world's shore diving capital. Inland, the scenery turns surreal. Rose-colored salt pans where thousands of flamingos wade, glittering white pyramids of salt. And the stark 19th century stone huts that recall the enslaved workers who once labored here. Those huts stand barely tall enough to sit up in, a sobering reminder of the brutal trade that salt once was. The whole island, tip to tip, feels like a nature reserve where the rules are written by the sea. Utrecht. At the center of the country, Utrecht grew from a Roman fort into the spiritual heart of the medieval Low Countries. Its skyline is crowned by the Dom Tower, at 112 meters, the tallest church tower in the Netherlands. A freak tornado tore the cathedral's nave away in 1674, so tower and church have stood apart ever since, a bare square between them where the Great Hall once rose. But the city's real magic runs below street level. Utrecht's canals sit a full story down, and the old cargo cellars along the water are now candlelit cafes and terraces perched right at the waterline. Add a 1,000-year-old university, and the city hums with history and youth at once. Keukenhof. At the center of the bulb region, near the village of Lisa, lies the world's most spectacular spring garden. For just 8 weeks a year, some 7 million bulbs bloom across its winding paths, ponds, and pavilions, every single one planted by hand. Rivers of tulips wind between the trees, a windmill rises above the beds, and the scent of hyacinth hangs thick in the air. The growers arrange the flowers in dazzling drifts to show off the varieties they sell to the planet. Then, when the season ends, the whole thing vanishes until next spring. It is a fleeting, deliberate masterpiece. Flowers as fine art. Groningen. Far to the north, in a landscape of endless fields, Groningen is a burst of youthful energy. Its skyline is pinned by the Martini Toren, a soaring medieval tower the locals fondly call the Old Grey One. Below it, the streets belong to bicycles. The city long ago banned cars from cutting straight through its center, a policy now studied by planners worldwide. Around the market square, historic gables jostle with bold modern architecture, like the striking Forum Cultural Center. A great university floods it all with students, bikes, and late-night energy. Remote it may be, but Groningen carries the buzz of a small metropolis. Naarden. Barely 20 minutes from Amsterdam, the town of Naarden sits inside another masterpiece of military geometry. A double ring of walls, moats, and bastions so precise that from the sky it forms a flawless 12-pointed star. Within the ramparts lies a historic town gathered around a great church, and the fortifications themselves now shelter museums that unpack centuries of Dutch defensive engineering. That church has world-famous acoustics, and each Good Friday thousands gather to hear Bach's St. Matthew Passion sung beneath its vaults. Few places on Earth show the art of the Star Fort so completely. Muiderslot. At the mouth of the Vecht River, near Amsterdam, rises a storybook fortress of red brick, ringed by a moat and studded with round corner towers. Built in the late 13th century by a powerful count who was murdered nearby, Muiderslot later became a gathering place for the poets and scholars of the Golden Age. In those years, its halls hosted a famous circle of writers, composers, and thinkers. It is the Muiden Circle, who gathered here to debate art and science over long candlelit evenings. The castle survived only by luck. Slated for demolition more than once, it was saved in the 19th century in one of the country's earliest acts of heritage preservation. Its restored halls, armories, and formal gardens make it perhaps the most perfect medieval castle in the country. The very picture that Dutch castle conjures in the mind. Nijmegen. On a bend of the mighty Waal River stands what many call the oldest city in the Netherlands. Founded by the Romans as Novi Omnibus, its great river bridge is both its signature and its history. In 1944, that crossing became the objective of a daring, bloody Allied assault, a story retold in films ever since. Each summer, the city erupts for the 4 days marches, the largest walking event on Earth, when tens of thousands stride the surrounding country in a week-long festival. Battered in the war and rebuilt, it now pairs 2,000 years of Roman bones with the buzz of a lively student city. Ancient roots. Young heart. Aruba. Westernmost of the trio and another constituent country of the kingdom, Aruba markets itself as one happy island, and with reason. Eagle Beach, a broad ribbon of squeaking white sand and impossibly blue water, ranks routinely among the finest beaches in the world. Guarded by the island's signature divvy trees, permanently bent southwest by the trade winds like natural weather vanes. Away from the resorts, the land turns to desert. The rugged Arikok National Park covers nearly a fifth of the island in cactus, dramatic cliffs, and a hidden natural pool carved into the rock. While pastel Dutch colonial facades brighten the capital of Oranjestad. Sitting safely outside the hurricane belt, it bakes in near-perfect sunshine year-round. Volendam and Marken. On the shore of what was once the stormy Zuiderzee, two former fishing communities preserve a vanished world. Volendam lines its harbor with fish stalls and pointed rooftops, and locals still don traditional costume for festivals. A short way off, Marken was an island until a causeway tied it to the mainland. Because floods once swept through so often, its dark green wooden houses were raised on mounds and stilts. Huddled in tight, picturesque clusters beneath a lighthouse that recalls its life ringed entirely by water. Amersfoort. In the province of Utrecht, Amersfoort guards a medieval core so intact it feels staged. Its showpiece is the Koppelpoort, a rare combined land and water gate where a fortified arch straddles a canal, its heavy wooden sluice doors still cranked open by hand. Those doors were once worked by prisoners who walked inside great wooden treadwheels like hamsters, their footsteps raising and lowering the gates against the current. A ring of ancient wall houses, built directly into the line of the vanished city ramparts, encircles the old town. And a tall church tower, nicknamed Long John, presides over the rooftops. The church that tower once crowned was blown to nothing in 1787 when the gunpowder stored inside it exploded, leaving the spire standing alone over an empty square ever since. The painter Piet Mondrian was born here, and the whole city rewards an afternoon of aimless wandering. But the Netherlands belongs not only to its people, it belongs to the wild things that share this water-laced land. For all its cities and engineering, this is a country alive with animals. the reed beds and reborn marshes, the white-tailed eagle. Europe's largest bird of prey, once vanished from these shores, soars again above the water. Konik horses and red deer move in great herds across the polders. And the elusive otter slips once more through the peat canals. Along the northern coast, seals haul out by the thousand on the sandbanks of the Wadden Sea. While overhead, millions of migrating birds darken the sky each spring and autumn, pausing here on journeys that span continents. In the heaths and forests, wild boar roam beneath ancient oaks. And beavers, gone for centuries, build once more in the wetlands. It is a living reminder that this engineered nation still makes room for the wild. And that brings our journey through the Netherlands to a close. Thank you for traveling every mile of it with us. Until next time, tot ziens, Netherlands.